Picture your grandmother, not the woman you knew gray-haired baking apple pie in a kitchen that smelled of cinnamon and
May I
safety.
have the pleasure of this
Picture
dance?
her at
The
18, New
pleasure is
York
all
City,
mine, sir.
December 1842. She's standing in a
Will you
ballroom
marry
at
me, my love?
Delmonico's restaurant,
Yes,
wearing a
my
dress her
darling,
mother
1,000
spent 3
times,
months
yes.
of
You have made
household
me the
money on.
happiest man.
The fabric is cream-colored silk that rustles when she breathes. The corset underneath crushes her ribs until each breath
I
is a
overheard something
calculated
rather
effort.
shocking. What
She's
is it? Tell me.
terrified.
Lord
Not of
Ashford and
violence,
Lady
though
Pembroke.
violence exists
No,
in
you must tell
abundance
me
beyond
everything.
these walls. Not of poverty, though poverty waits like a patient wolf just outside her family's door. She's terrified of failing, of saying the wrong thing, of laughing too loudly, of letting her true thoughts show in her eyes for even a fraction of a second. Because tonight is not a party. Tonight is a transaction. She is the product. Marriage is survival. And one wrong move could destroy her only chance at security in a world that offers women precisely 2 choices. Marry well or disappear into poverty so complete, it might as well be death. Your grandmother was sold, legally, with a marriage license and a priest's blessing, and congratulations all around. This is her story, and it explains why your granddaughter fights so hard for freedoms you've spent your entire life taking for granted. The ballroom at Delmonico's holds 200 bodies in a space designed for perhaps 150. Gas lamps flicker along the walls, casting warm light over silk gowns and dark coats. The music comes from a small orchestra tucked into the corner, a waltz 1-2-3, 1-2-3, the heartbeat of civilization. Among the young women standing along the eastern wall, they call it the wallflower section. Though never in polite company stands Lenora Thorne, 18 years old. Dark hair arranged in elaborate curls, orange blossoms woven through the crown, already wilting from the heat. Her best friend stands beside her, Evangeline Ashford. Eva to her friends, golden-haired and pretty, in the delicate way society prizes. Eva's talking in excited whispers about a young man who asked her to dance last week. Thomas Ashford. His family owns shipping interests. Do you think he'll ask me again tonight? I'm certain he will, Lenora says, though she's certain of nothing. Eva squeezes her hand. We'll find good husbands, Nora, both of us. We'll have houses near each other and raise our children together. It will be wonderful. Lenora wants to believe this, wants to imagine a future where marriage means partnership and friendship survives proximity and everything works out as the romance novels promise. But she's been listening to her mother's calculations for weeks. She knows the math. Too many girls, not enough suitable men. Only the lucky ones escape intact. Across the room, Lenora's mother catches her eye. Patience Thorne stands near the refreshment table, monitoring, assessing, calculating. When their eyes meet, the message is clear. Stand straighter, smile more naturally, be chosen. A young man approaches, tall, dark-haired, mid-20s, well-tailored coat suggesting family money but not extravagant wealth. Miss Thorne, he says, and his voice is steady despite nervous hands. I am Nathaniel Whitmore. I believe we were introduced last week at the Hendersons' dinner party. They were, Lenore remembers. She sat 3 seats away and said perhaps 5 words all evening because young ladies at dinner parties are meant to be decorative, not conversational. Of course, Mr. Whitmore. How pleasant to see you again. I wondered if you might honor me with the next dance. She checks her dance card as though verifying availability, even though they both know it's empty. I would be delighted. He leads her onto the floor. His hand rests at her waist with appropriate lightness. They begin to waltz. I saw you at the bookshop last Tuesday, he says after a minute. Holdridge's on Broadway. Lenora's heart skips. She was at Holdridge's. She'd picked up a copy of Jane Eyre and read 3 pages before her mother called her away. I enjoy reading, she says carefully. Jane Eyre, have you read it? Dangerous territory. The novel, as controversial critics call it, coarse anti-Christian, dangerous to young female minds. I haven't had the opportunity, though I've heard it's quite provocative. Would you like to borrow my copy? The offer hangs between them. He's offering her a book her mother would never approve, implying future contact, testing whether she's the kind of woman who reads controversial novels. I would like that very much. Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. His smile is genuine. For just a moment, she sees past the nervous suitor to the person underneath, someone who reads novels, someone who thinks women might enjoy reading them too. The waltz ends. He escorts her back to her mother, thanks her, departs. Patience waits 3 seconds. Who is he? Nathaniel Whitmore. His father has a law practice on Chambers Street. Income. I don't know, mother. Find out, discreetly. Nearby, Eva is dancing with Thomas Ashford for the 2nd time tonight. Her face glows with happiness. Thomas is handsome, wealthy, everything a suitable match should be. Lenora watches them and feels something twist in her stomach that might be hope or might be dread. Let's calculate what's at stake because Lenora's mother has done the math and you should understand it too. Samuel Thorne. Lenora's father earns $1,200 per year from his textile business. Respectable income. Not wealthy but comfortable. He's 52 years old. Average lifespan for a man of his class, 61 years. He has perhaps 9 years remaining. Maybe less. Men who work with textiles develop lung ailments. Samuel coughs at night. When Samuel dies, his estate will be divided according to law. 1/3 to his widow if he's drafted a will properly. The remaining 2/3 to his male heirs. Samuel has no sons. He has one daughter, which means legally he has no direct heirs. Here are Lenora's options at age 18. Option 1, marry well. Secure a husband with stable income. Transfer dependents from father to husband before father dies. This is the preferred outcome. Option 2, marry poorly, accept whoever proposes because he's the only option. Spend your life in genteel poverty, one accident away from destitution. Option 3, don't marry at all. Become a spinster, live as a dependent in relatives' households, or take a position as a governess, earning $120 per year. Watch younger, prettier girls succeed where you failed. These are the options. These are the only options. Calculate with me. Is this a choice or extortion without a wedding dress? Your grandmother calculated the same math. Her numbers might have differed, but the equation was identical. The courtship unfolds across 5 months. Nathaniel calls on Lenora every Thursday afternoon at precisely 3 o'clock. He brings her books, Jane Eyre, then Wuthering Heights, then poetry. Wordsworth, Keats, even Edgar Allan Poe, whose dark imagination makes patience visibly uncomfortable. During one Thursday call in February, they discuss The Raven. What did you think of it? Nathaniel asks. Not what you're supposed to think, what you actually thought. Patience shifts in her chair by the window, a warning. But Lenora takes the risk. I think it's about grief that won't end. The narrator asks if he'll see his lost love in heaven, and the Raven says nevermore. The horror isn't the Raven, it's the finality. Nathaniel's smile reaches his eyes. Yes, exactly yes. In those moments, brief chaperoned, carefully monitored, Lenora feels something that might be recognition. The sense that perhaps she's being seen as something other than a decorative acquisition. Iva writes letters full of excitement. Thomas Ashford is courting her seriously now. He's proposed. They'll marry in late August, 2 weeks after Lenora's own wedding to Nathaniel. We'll be neighbors, Nora. Our houses will be close. We'll visit constantly. Our children will play together. Everything is working out perfectly. Lenora wants to believe this, wants Eva's optimism to be justified. But she's noticed things, small things. The way Eva's letters sometimes have crossed out words as though she started to write something and thought better of it. The way she mentioned Thomas gets disappointed when things don't go as planned. The brightness in her words that seems forced. Maybe Lenora is imagining problems that don't exist. Maybe Eva really is as happy as she claims. In May, Nathaniel proposes. The ritual happens in the Thorne drawing room. Patience conveniently remembers an errand. For the first time in 5 months, Lenora and Nathaniel are alone. He produces a ring, garnet surrounded by pearls. Lenora Thorne, would you do me the very great honor of becoming my wife? What else would she say? Yes, yes, I would be honored to be your wife. Then Nathaniel adds something unexpected. I should be honest with you about why I'm proposing. My mother had preferences about who I should court. She preferred you to other candidates because your family's financial situation means you'll be grateful for the security. She said a woman who needs the marriage will be more tractable. The word hangs in the air. Tractable, manageable, easily controlled. Lenora could lie, could smile and pretend she doesn't understand. But Nathaniel is offering honesty. Your mother is a practical woman, Lenora says carefully. And you're right about the practical reality. I need this marriage. You're offering security I cannot obtain any other way. That's true. She pauses. But I hope we might build something beyond transaction. That the partnership you spoke of might be real. I'll try, Nathaniel says, to see you as a partner, not property. I know the law says otherwise, but I'll try. It's not a promise of equality, just a commitment to try. It's more than many women get. That night, Lenora writes in the journal she started keeping May 24th, 1843. I am engaged. He was honest about his mother's calculations, about my family's financial situation, making me suitable because it makes me grateful. He's not wrong, I am grateful, and I am terrified. The ring is beautiful. It's also a shackle. Both things can be true. The wedding is scheduled for August 7th, 3 months of preparation, fittings and arrangements, and the thousand small tasks that transform understanding into ceremony. Eva writes that her own wedding will be August 21st. 2 weeks after Lenora's, they'll both be married by September. The dream is coming true. On the morning of Lenora's wedding, Patience attempts the talk. There are certain duties. To your husband. Tonight after the ceremony, there will be intimacy of a physical nature. It may be uncomfortable, perhaps even painful. This is natural. Your duty is to submit, to endure what must be endured. The discomfort is temporary. The purpose is children. But what exactly, Lenora starts. That's not appropriate to discuss in detail. Nathaniel will know what to do. Trust him. It will be over quickly. That's it. That's the entire preparation. 18 years of education, and that's all she gets. Trinity Church stands at Wall Street and Broadway, its Gothic spire reaching toward August sky. Lenora arrives in white silk with Honiton lace, expensive, but Patience insisted. Orange blossoms crown her hair, already browning at the edges. At the altar, Nathaniel waits. When he sees her, something in his face softens. The ceremony proceeds. Reverend Thompson speaks about the sanctity of marriage, about duty and devotion. He quotes Ephesians, wives submitting to husbands as to the Lord. Then come the vows. Nathaniel speaks clearly. It Nathaniel Marcus Whitmore, take thee, Lenora Catherine Thorne, to be my wedded wife. To have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part. Then it's Lenora's turn. I, Lenora Catherine Thorne, take thee, Nathaniel Marcus Whitmore, to be my wedded husband. To have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love, cherish, and obey, till death do us part. The word obey catches in her throat. She forces it out. Obey, not just a word, a legal obligation. The ring slides onto her finger, gold band catching light. I now pronounce you man and wife. And just like that, Lenora Thorne ceases to exist. She is covered now, subsumed. Mrs. Nathaniel Whitmore, not a person in her own right, but an extension of him. You may kiss the bride. His lips touch hers, brief, dry. The first kiss of their married life. Rice falls on them as they exit. The carriage takes them to the reception, then to the Astor House Hotel. That night, in a room that smells of roses and anticipation, the marriage is consummated. Nathaniel tries to be gentle. It hurts anyway. Not unbearably, but there's pain and awkwardness and profound strangeness. It's over quickly. Her mother was right about that. Afterward, they lie in darkness, not touching. Are you all right? Nathaniel asks. I don't know. Did I hurt you? A little, less than I expected. Silence. Then what happens now? We sleep. Tomorrow we return to our house. Begin our life together. No, I mean, what happens to me? Who am I now? You're my wife. I know, but what does that mean? I can't own property anymore. Can't sign contracts. Can't make decisions without your permission. Can't even keep my own name. How am I still myself if everything that made me a person has been transferred to you? Nathaniel doesn't answer immediately. The law is what it is. I can't change that. But within our household, I can choose how to interpret my authority. I want to believe I can see you as an equal even within an unequal system. But I might fail. At least you're trying. Is trying enough? I don't know, but it's more than nothing. Sleep comes slowly, disturbed by dreams she won't remember. When she wakes, Nathaniel is watching her. Good morning, Mrs. Whitmore. Mrs. Whitmore, the name that will be hers for the rest of her life. She begins the long process of learning to be someone's wife. The house on Gramercy Park stands in a row of identical brownstones, number 47. Home now. A woman stands in the entrance, mid-40s, gray hair pulled back severely, black dress with white apron. This is Mrs. Abigail Crane, Nathaniel says, your housekeeper. Mrs. Crane, Lenora says. Ma'am, welcome home. Mrs. Crane shows her through the house. Parlor, dining room, kitchen, bedrooms. Everything is prepared, furnished, waiting. I've engaged a cook, Mrs. Murphy, and a housemaid, Betty. With your approval, of course. Does approval really rest with her? Or is that polite fiction? I'm sure your judgment is sound, Mrs. Crane. The housekeeper produces a notebook, household accounts. Income, expenses, proposed budget. The numbers swim before Lenora's eyes. She's never managed accounts. Mathematics was not part of her education. But she's supposed to manage this household. That's the role of a wife. Mrs. Crane watches with an expression that might be sympathy. If I may say so, ma'am, most young ladies find household management overwhelming at first. It's learned, not innate. I'm happy to guide you. The kindness catches Lenora off guard. Thank you. I would appreciate that very much. Mrs. Crane's expression softens. I was married once. My husband died in a shipping accident 15 years ago. The company claimed his wages died with him, said they owed nothing to a widow. I had no legal recourse. I became a housekeeper to survive. She pauses. I know what it's like to be powerless, Mrs. Whitmore. You have more authority than I ever did, but the law makes you dependent on your husband's goodwill. If you need an ally in this house, you have one. An ally. She's found an ally. The first weeks establish rhythms. Nathaniel leaves for his office at 8 each morning, returns at 6. The hours between are Lenora's to fill. Filling them proves difficult. Mrs. Crane manages the household efficiently. She consults Lenora about menus, about purchases. But the consultations feel perfunctory. Mrs. Crane already knows what needs to be done. Lenora approves everything. What else can she do? By late September, she's desperately bored. She tries reading, but sitting alone while servants work makes her feel useless. She tries needlework, still tedious. The house doesn't have a piano yet. One Tuesday, Mrs. Crane finds her staring out the window. Mrs. Whitmore, perhaps you'd like to accompany me to the market. Your presence might strengthen my position with the butcher. It's a transparent excuse. Lenora seizes it. At the market, she watches Mrs. Crane bargain with skill that borders on art. The butcher tries to upsell Mrs. Crane counters with observations about freshness, questions about origin, pointed comments about other butchers' prices. The price drops. You're very good at this, Lenora says. Necessity teaches skills that privilege doesn't. When every penny matters, you learn to make pennies stretch. Could you teach me? You want to learn household bargaining. I want to learn anything. I'm drowning in uselessness, Mrs. Crane. I have nothing to do. I contribute nothing. Please teach me something practical. The next morning, Lenora descends to the kitchen. Ladies don't visit kitchens and sits at the wooden table while Mrs. Crane explains budgeting. Real budgeting, how to calculate cost per meal, how to anticipate price fluctuations, how to identify waste. It's the most useful education Lenora has received in her life. Within a month, she's not just approving budgets. She's suggesting modifications, questioning expenses, finding savings. One October evening, Nathaniel comments on reduced household expenses. You and Mrs. Crane have made significant improvements. We're spending nearly 15% less than I budgeted. Mrs. Crane is an excellent teacher. You've learned quickly. I'm not stupid, Lenora says sharply. Nathaniel looks up. I never thought you were. No. Then why did no one teach me any of this before? Why was I educated in French and piano but not mathematics, in deportment but not bookkeeping? Because the system assumes women don't need to understand these things, that their husbands will handle it. But I'm managing the household. How can I manage what I don't understand? You're not meant to truly manage. You're meant to appear to manage while your husband maintains actual control. Brutal honesty, but accurate. That's absurd. Yes, Nathaniel agrees. It is. They look at each other across the table. I can teach you, Nathaniel says, if you want. Basic accounting, contract law, property rights. The things that govern our lives that you were never taught. Why would you do that? Because you're right. It is absurd to make you responsible for what you're not permitted to understand. And because I want you to be a genuine partner, you can't be a partner if you're kept ignorant. Won't people think that's inappropriate? They don't need to know what we do in our own home. A small rebellion, private, hidden, almost invisible. Yes, teach me. That night, her journal entry, November, brings a letter from Eva. Finally. Lenora has written 3 times since Eva's wedding in late August. This is the first response. Dearest Nora, forgive my silence. Married life keeps me terribly busy. Thomas is very attentive. The house is lovely. Everything is as it should be. I'm with child already due in May. Thomas is very pleased. He hopes for a son, of course. I pray constantly it's a son. He gets so disappointed when things don't go as planned. I've been rather clumsy lately. Walked into a door and have a dreadful bruise on my wrist. Must be more careful. Do write back. I miss you. Your devoted friend, Eva Lenora, reads it 3 times. The brightness is forced. Gets so disappointed when things don't go as planned. An odd phrase. Walked into a door. The oldest excuse. She writes back immediately. Eva, are you safe? Please tell me true. Eva's response arrives 2 weeks later. Of course, what a strange question. Thomas is wonderful. The deflection is obvious. But what can Lenora do? She has no authority, no power to intervene. A wife who leaves her husband is charged with desertion, theft of her husband's property, meaning herself. She mentions it to Mrs. Crane. I've heard things about Thomas Ashford, the housekeeper says quietly, from servants who work in households near theirs. The housemaid has seen Mrs. Ashford with bruises, heard raised voices. But what can servants do? What can anyone do? The law permits a husband to discipline his wife. Within reason, Lenora says desperately. Who defines reason? I've never heard of a husband prosecuted for beating his wife. Lenora feels powerless. Her friend is in danger and there's nothing she can do. December arrives. By now, Lenora has learned basic accounting from Nathaniel. She understands contracts, property law, the legal framework that governs her non-existence as a person. The knowledge is power. It's also devastating. Understanding exactly how thoroughly she's been erased makes it worse, not better. One December afternoon, the doorbell rings. Mrs. Crane announces, "Mrs. Evangeline Ashford to see you." Eva enters in a swirl of winter cloak. She's visibly pregnant, now 5 months along, and visibly thin everywhere else. Too thin. They embrace. Eva's arms are fragile beneath the fabric. "How are you?" Lenora asks. "Wonderful. Everything is wonderful. Too bright. How are you finding married life?" "Strange, confining, bearable. How are you finding it?" "Oh, perfect." Thomas is very attentive, very concerned about the baby. They sit. Mrs. Crane brings tea. "The baby is due in May," Lenora asks. "But, yes, Thomas says if it's a girl, we'll try again immediately. He needs a son." Eva's hand moves to her stomach, protective, unconscious. "I need to give him a son." Need, not want, need. "Ava, I should go." Eva stands abruptly. "Thomas prefers I'm home when he arrives." "Stay a little longer." "I can't, really." She's already moving toward the door. As she pulls on her cloak, the sleeve rides up. There's a bruise on her wrist. Yellow-green, old healing, in the distinct shape of fingers that grip too hard. Lenora's blood goes cold. "Eva, how did you get that bruise?" Eva pulls her sleeve down quickly. "Walked into the doorframe. So clumsy of me." "Eva, please, if you need help." "What help could I possibly need? I'm married to a successful businessman. I'm expecting a child. Everything is perfect." She's gone before Lenora can stop her. That evening, Lenora tells Nathaniel everything. The bruises. The two bright lies. The fear underneath. "Can we help her?" Lenora asks. "Legally, no. A husband has the right to discipline his wife. If she tries to leave, he can have her forcibly returned." There must be something. Nathaniel is quiet for a long moment. There are networks. People who help women in dangerous situations. Completely illegal. They forge documents, arrange passage west, help women disappear. And if she's caught, she's charged with desertion, returned to her husband, faces whatever punishment he deems appropriate. So she's trapped. Unless she's willing to risk everything. And even then she'd have to leave the baby. Children belong to the father legally. She couldn't take it with her. Lenora feels sick. She loves that baby already. I saw how she touched her stomach. She wouldn't leave it. Then she's trapped, Nathaniel confirms. That night, Lenora's journal. Christmas passes. New Year. January 1844 arrives with brutal cold. On January 15th, a messenger arrives at the Gramercy Park house. Black-edged envelope. Morning stationery. Lenora opens it with shaking hands. "Mrs. Nathaniel Whitmore, it is with profound sorrow we inform you that Mrs. Evangeline Ashford passed from this world on January 12th, 1844, due to complications from premature labor. The infant, a daughter, survived briefly but succumbed within hours. Mrs. Ashford's death was attributed to uterine hemorrhaging. The attending physician noted evidence of prior injury that may have contributed to complications. Mr. Thomas Ashford is devastated. Funeral services were held January 14th. With deepest condolences, the Ashford family." Lenora collapses. Mrs. Crane finds her on the floor sobbing into the carpet, the letter crumpled in her fist. "She was 20 years old," Lenora chokes out. 20. Mrs. Crane holds her while she cries. Doesn't tell her to compose herself. Doesn't tell her it's God's will. Just holds her. Later, after the tears have stopped, after Lenora can breathe again, Mrs. Crane speaks quietly. "I have a cousin who works for a doctor. She told me Mrs. Ashford had broken ribs 3 weeks before labor. Extensive bruising, internal bleeding. The labor was premature because of the injuries. He killed her. Yes. And he'll face no consequences. No, Lenora looks at the letter, at the phrase devastated. Thomas Ashford will mourn publicly, will receive sympathy, will remarry within a year probably, will face no legal repercussions for beating his pregnant wife so badly she died, because the law permits it, within reason. And who defines reason? I want to fight this, Lenora says. I don't know how, but I want to fight. Mrs. Crane nods slowly. Then we'll find a way. That night, Lenora doesn't write in her journal. Instead, she starts a new document, not a diary, something else. She titles it A True Account of Marriage Under Coverture Law. She writes about Eva, every detail she remembers. The bruises, the forced brightness, the fear, the death that could have been prevented if wives had any legal protection. She writes about coverture law, what it means, how it operates, the ways that it traps women. She writes about her own marriage, the good parts, the confining parts, the ways even a kind husband exists within a structure designed to erase her. She writes for hours, until her hand cramps, until the candle burns low. This is her small rebellion. Documentation. Testimony. Someone someday will need to know the truth. February brings discovery of her own pregnancy. She misses her monthly course once, then twice. Morning sickness begins. She tells Nathaniel first the law requires it, though that's not why she tells him. He's genuinely pleased. Talks about children, about the future. Lenora feels terror. Eva died in childbirth. 5 months pregnant when the beating triggered premature labor. Dead at 20. Calculate with me. What are Lenora's odds? New York City 1844 maternal mortality rates. Overall 6 per 1,000 live births. For women under 29 per 1,000. With complications 40 per 1,000, Lenora is 19. Healthy, but Eva was healthy too before Thomas broke her ribs. If Lenora has 6 children over 20 years standard for her class, the cumulative risk of dying in childbirth is approximately 6%. That's 1 in 28. Russian roulette has 1 in 6 odds. Your grandmother played worse odds, multiple times. Mrs. Crane notices Lenora's terror and speaks to her privately. I won't lie to you. Childbirth is dangerous. But you're young, healthy, and you have me. I've attended dozens of births. I'll be with you through all of it. Eva had attendance too. Eva had internal injuries from violence. You don't. The situations aren't comparable. How can you be sure I'll survive? I can't, but I can promise you won't face it alone. The pregnancy advances. Lenora's body changes in ways she barely understands. Her mother visits in March, offers vague advice that helps nothing. By May, she's entered confinement the last 3 months where she cannot be seen in public. Her swelling body is shameful, a reminder of the sexual act that created it. She sits by the window watching spring arrive in Gramercy Park, feeling imprisoned. On June 12th at 3 in the morning, the pains begin. Labor lasts 19 hours. Mrs. Crane stays with her the entire time. So does her mother, who arrived yesterday as though she knew. The doctor comes at hour 12, elderly, experienced, smelling of carbolic soap. He examines her, pronounces everything progressing normally, and settles into a chair to wait. The pain becomes all-consuming. Lenora grips the bedpost, bites down on folded cloth, makes sounds she didn't know she was capable of making. At hour 16, something goes wrong. The baby is breech. The doctor moves quickly, manipulation from outside, trying to turn it. The pain is beyond description. At hour 18, success. The baby turns. Now, Mrs. Whitmore, the doctor says, everything you have. One final push, release, rush of warmth, a thin, wavering cry. You have a daughter. The baby is placed on Lenora's chest, small, red, perfect. She smells of copper and salt and something indefinably new. Lenora has never felt anything like this. Not love exactly, she doesn't know this person yet, but something fiercer, more primitive. The certainty that she would die for this tiny stranger she's just met. Her name is Vivian, Lenora says. Nathaniel enters. He'd been banished during labor, looks disappointed for half a second before catching himself. A daughter. She's beautiful. But Lenora saw the disappointment. He wanted a son. Everyone wants sons. The doctor monitors her for childbed fever, the infection that kills so many new mothers. 3 weeks of vigilance. Lenora survives. 3 days after birth, a wet nurse arrives. Mary Sullivan, 24, Irish immigrant. Recently delivered of her own baby, which was sent to relatives upstate so Mary's milk can be sold. Mary takes Vivian to her breast. The baby latches, immediately feeds contentedly. Lenora feels something complicated watching another woman nourish her child. Relief she's exhausted, cannot handle night feedings, but also displacement. Vivian seeks Mary's breast, not hers. This is normal. This is expected. Wealthy women don't nurse their own babies. It interferes with social obligations, suppresses fertility, and Lenora is expected to produce more children soon. But watching Vivian in Mary's arms, Lenora feels a loss she can't quite name. Calculate the cost, Mary's own baby sent away so she can nurse Lenora's. The infant will likely die. Foundling hospital mortality rates exceed 60%. One baby sacrificed so another can thrive. This is the cost of civilization. This is the system. Lenora hates it. Her journal, 3 weeks after birth, July 5th, 1844. Vivian is 3 weeks old. She's perfect. She's also not mine. Legally, she belongs to Nathaniel. He could take her away, and I'd have no recourse. The wet nurse's own baby died last week, typhoid. Mary weeps quietly when she thinks no one hears. I hold Vivian and feel grateful and guilty in equal measure. What kind of world builds itself on mother's grief? The years pass in a blur of children and household management and small rebellions. Vivian at 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Walking, talking. A son arrives in 1846, Thomas Jr. Nathaniel is openly delighted. An heir. Finally, another daughter in 1849, Clara. Then another son in 1852, Edward. 4 children in 8 years. 4 times Lenora gambled with death and survived. 4 times she lay in bed wondering if this would be the labor that killed her. She's 26 now, feels 40. Her body has been reshaped by pregnancy, weakened by repeated childbearing. But she's alive. She survived. The children are raised primarily by nurses and governesses. Lenora sees them at scheduled times: breakfast, afternoon tea, bedtime. This is normal. This is what mothers of her class do. But Lenora insists on more involvement than is typical. She teaches Vivian to read herself instead of leaving it entirely to the governess. Spends hours with the children, despite raised eyebrows from other society mothers. You're too attached, Patience warns during a visit. It's unseemly. They're my children. They're Nathaniel's children. You're raising them for him. The casual cruelty of the reminder. They don't belong to her, not legally. In 1855, everything changes. Vivian is 11 years old. Bright, curious, constantly asking questions. One afternoon in September, she asked Lenora, "Mother, why can't I go to university like Thomas will?" Thomas Jr. is 9. Already his education is planned: preparatory school, then university, then law practice following his father. Women don't attend university, darling. Why not? I'm smarter than Thomas. She is, objectively. Thomas is a sweet boy, but not particularly intellectual. Vivian devours books, asks penetrating questions, has a mind that Lenora recognizes. It's her own mind, the one she's spent 13 years suppressing. Because the world says you can't. Then the world is wrong. The certainty in her 11-year-old voice. The clarity. Lenora looks at her daughter and sees herself at 18. Sees the cage waiting to close around her. Yes, Lenora says, the world is wrong. That night she makes a decision. She will not prepare Vivian the way Patience prepared her. Will not teach her to accept powerlessness as natural. Will not send her into marriage ignorant and afraid. She will tell Vivian the truth. All of it, she starts slowly. Teaching Vivian mathematics, real mathematics, not the decorative arithmetic ladies are permitted. Teaching her to keep accounts, to understand budgets, to see how money flows. Nathaniel notices. Is that appropriate? She's only 11? She needs to understand how the world works. She needs to understand how to be a wife. She needs to understand both. So when she becomes a wife, she's not helpless. They argue about it, their first real marital conflict, but Lenora holds firm. I watched my best friend die because she was helpless. I will not raise a helpless daughter. Nathaniel backs down, not because he agrees, because Lenora has never asked for anything before, and this clearly matters. Over the next 3 years, Lenora educates Vivian in everything she was denied: mathematics, law, property rights, contracts, the mechanisms of oppression, and she tells her about Eva. Vivian is 14 when Lenora explains what happened, how Eva died, why she died, what the law permits. Vivian weeps. Then she gets angry. How can that be legal? Because the law was written by men who benefit from it. Can it be changed? I don't know. Some women are trying. There are reformers, activists, but change is slow. I want to help change it. Looking at her daughter, 14 years old, fierce with righteous anger, Lenora feels something she hasn't felt since Eva's death. Hope. In 1860, the Married Women's Property Act passes in New York. It's limited, partial. Women can now keep property owned before marriage, can inherit up to $2,000 independently, can make wills. But they still can't keep their wages if they work, still have no custody rights, still can't vote, It's not enough, but it's something. Lenora is 36, Vivian is 16. They read the newspaper together, analyzing the law's implications. This is progress, Lenora says. It's pathetic, Vivian counters. We get to keep property we already owned. How generous. What about the property we earn? What about our children? What about our votes? Those will come. Maybe not in my lifetime, but possibly in yours. That year, Vivian announces she will not marry. She's 16, beautiful, accomplished, already receiving attention from suitable young men. I won't do it, she tells Lenora. I won't sign away my personhood. I'll teach. I'll earn my own living. I'll never belong to anyone. Patience is horrified when she hears. You've ruined her, filled her head with radical nonsense. I've educated her, Lenora says calmly. She's making an informed choice. Choice? What choice does an unmarried woman have? She'll die a spinster. She'll die free. The break with her mother is final. Patience stops visiting, writes letters full of recrimination. Lenora reads them, sets them aside, continues teaching Vivian. Nathaniel is conflicted. He's proud of Vivian's intelligence, but he worries about her future. What will she do, he asks Lenora. Teaching jobs are scarce. And when they hire married women, she'll be forced to resign. Then we'll support her. We have the means. For how long? What happens when I die? You'll both be dependent on Thomas Jr.'s goodwill. It's true, when Nathaniel dies, the house and business will pass to Thomas Jr. Lenora and Vivian will be dependents, unless they prepare differently. Lenora has been saving for years. Small amounts skimmed from household budgets, not enough to notice, but accumulating. Crane helped her hide it, invest it through trusted intermediaries. It's not much, perhaps $800 over 13 years. But it's something. We'll manage, Lenora says. In 1862, they attend a lecture by Charlotte Pierce, a reformer who lost her sons to her ex-husband when the court awarded him automatic custody. Pierce speaks about the Custody of Infants Act passed in 1839, limited partial, but allowing mothers of unblemished character to petition for custody of children under 7. It's not enough, Pierce says to the packed hall. We need complete reform, equal custody rights, equal property rights. The vote, nothing less. The audience erupts, some in applause, some in jeers. The division is stark. Lenora and Vivian applaud. After the lecture, they approach Pierce. Lenora introduces herself and Vivian. My daughter has decided not to marry, Lenora explains. She wants to fight for reform instead. Pierce looks at Vivian, 16, fierce-eyed, determined. Good. We need fighters. The old women like me are tired. The young women like you will finish what we started. She gives them literature, contact information for reform organizations, names of other activists. Join us, Pierce says. Both of you. And they do. It starts small. Attendance at meetings, writing letters to legislators, hosting discussions in the Gramercy Park house. Nathaniel permits it, though he doesn't participate. Mrs. Crane joins them. So do other servants from neighboring houses. Working-class women who understand oppression in ways that complement Lenora's middle-class experience. The movement grows. By 1865, Lenora is 41. Vivian is 21, teaching at a girls' school, earning her own wages that, thanks to the 1860 law, she gets to keep. By 1870, the movement has grown large enough to make legislators nervous. The Property Act is expanded. Women can now keep their wages. The change is significant. Vivian uses her wages to rent her own apartment. Lives independently scandalous, but she doesn't care. Lenora is 46. Still married to Nathaniel, but their relationship has evolved into something like genuine partnership. He reads her account of Eva's death she showed him finally after keeping it secret for 26 years. This is devastating, he says. You should publish it. No one would publish it. It's too radical. Try anyway. She does. The manuscript is rejected by 12 publishers. They call it too disturbing, unseemly, inappropriate for female authorship. Lenora sets it aside. Not abandoned, just waiting. In 1873, Nathaniel dies. Heart failure. Sudden. He's in his study one evening reading. Lenora finds him slumped in his chair, newspaper still in hand. Dead at 56. Lenora is 49. They were married 30 years. She feels complicated things. Grief, yes. He was kind. They built something together within the constraints. But also something else. Relief. For the first time in 30 years, she is not covered, not subsumed. As a widow, she has legal existence. She can sign contracts, own property, make wills, make decisions without asking permission. The freedom is intoxicating and terrifying in equal measure. Nathaniel's will leaves the house and business to Thomas Jr., now 27, and married with his own family. But Lenora has lifetime residence and an annuity $500 per year. It's enough. Not luxurious, but enough. And she has her secret savings. $800 grown to nearly $2,000 through careful investment. She is financially independent, not wealthy but secure. For the first time in her life, she is free. 6 months after Nathaniel's death, Lenora does something extraordinary. She uses part of her savings to establish a scholarship fund, the Eleanor Hartford Memorial Scholarship. For young women pursuing higher education, $50 per year, enough for tuition at the new women's colleges starting to emerge. The first recipient is chosen in 1874. Margaret Donovan, daughter of Irish immigrants, brilliant mathematician. She goes to Vassar, becomes a teacher, changes lives. Lenora attends the ceremony where the scholarship is awarded. Vivian is with her 30 years old now, still teaching, still unmarried, still free. This is Eva's legacy, Lenora says. And yours, Vivian replies. The suffrage fight intensifies through the 1870s. Lenora joins the National Woman Suffrage Association, attends rallies scandalous for a woman of 55, but she doesn't care anymore. She's arrested twice for disrupting public order. Spends 3 days in jail. The experience is illuminating. She meets working-class women prostitutes, women who've experienced the law's cruelty in ways she was partially protected from. She listens, learns, adds their stories to her manuscript. In 1880, she publishes it privately. The Gilded Cage, a true account of marriage under coverture law. It's not distributed widely. She can't afford mass publication. But copies circulate in reform circles. Women read it, find themselves in it, use it as evidence in activism. One review calls it hysterical feminine exaggeration. Another calls it the most important document of our time. Lenora is 56. She's lived long enough to speak truth publicly. That's enough. In 1917, New York grants women suffrage. 3 years before the federal amendment. Lenora is 73, frail but determined. On November 6, 1917, she goes to the polling place accompanied by Vivian, now 53, still teaching, retired from active reform work, but present for this moment. They're joined by Vivian's daughter, Margaret, Lenora's granddaughter, born to Vivian, despite her vow never to marry. Vivian found a way, a brief partnership with a like-minded man, a daughter conceived a separation by mutual agreement. Margaret raised by Vivian alone. Margaret is 23. A lawyer, one of the first women admitted to the New York bar. 3 generations approach the polling place. Lenora signs the registration book. Her hand shakes age, excitement, emotion. She enters the booth, looks at the ballot, Governor, State Assembly, local measures. She fills in every choice carefully. When she emerges, the poll worker congratulates her. How does it feel, he asks. Like I should have had it at birth, Lenora says. Outside, the 3 women embrace. We did it, Vivian says. You did it, Lenora corrects. I just lived long enough to see it. That night, Lenora makes a final entry in the journal she's kept for 74 years, November 6, 1917. I voted. At 73 years old, I cast a ballot. Eva should have been here. She should have lived to do this. But her death helped make this possible. Her story, my story, our stories mattered. To future readers, you have freedoms I couldn't imagine. But don't forget the price. Don't forget the women who disappeared so you could exist. Keep fighting until no woman anywhere lives as property. That is my legacy. Lenora dies in 1920, age 76, in Vivian's apartment. Peaceful, surrounded by family. She lives long enough to see the 19th Amendment ratified. Long enough to know the fight she joined in her 40s succeeded. The funeral is small. Immediate family reform activists who remember her students who received the Eleanor Hartford Memorial Scholarship. Vivian speaks, my mother was sold at 18. She spent 30 years legally invisible. When she finally became visible, she used every moment to fight. She documented truth when society demanded silence. She changed laws she couldn't vote for. She raised daughters who wouldn't accept what she was forced to endure. Vivian pauses. She told me once that the cage was gilded but still a cage. I think by the end she'd broken enough bars that we could all see sky. That's what mothers do. They break bars so daughters can fly. The Eleanor Hartford Memorial Scholarship funded 127 young women between 1874 and 1920. 6 became doctors, 12 became teachers, 3 became lawyers after it became legal. 1 became a suffragette arrested 7 times. The Gilded Cage was republished in 1920 by Vivian, causing significant controversy, but becoming a foundational text in women's history. Mrs. Crane's portions she'd kept her own journal given to Lenore before her death in 1890 were particularly valuable to historians studying servant life. Vivian lived to see women gain the vote federally in 1920. She was 76 when she cast her first presidential ballot. She voted wearing her mother's suffragette pin. Margaret Whitmore became doctor. Margaret Whitmore, one of the first female physicians in New York. She never married. When asked why, she said, "I read my grandmother's manuscript. I chose freedom instead." The journals remain in the family collection, now digitized and available to researchers at the Schlesinger Library at Harvard University. Lenore's drawing room chair, the one she sat in as a new bride, as a mother, as a widow, is in the Smithsonian Museum of American History, labeled Lenora Thorne Whitmore's Chair, A Victorian Woman's Life. The plaque reads, Lenora Thorne Whitmore, 1824 to 1920. From this chair, she managed a household, wrote a revolution, and built a legacy. She could not vote for 73 years of her life. She could not own property for 30 years of her marriage. But she changed the world anyway. That is how you survive a cage. You document it, you resist it, you ensure the next generation has the tools to dismantle it. Calculate with me one final time. Lenore lost approximately $213,000 in modern value to coverture law over her lifetime. Her descendants, Vivian, Margaret, and 4 generations after, earned back approximately $387,000 through freedoms she fought for. Net gain $174,000 across 5 generations. But the real gain, none of them had to ask permission to exist. That's what resistance is worth. Compound interest on justice. Your grandmother lived this. Maybe not Lenora's exact story, but some version of it. Ask the women in your life over 80. They remember not being able to open bank accounts without husbands until 1974, being fired for pregnancy until 1978, marital rape not being prosecuted until the 1990s. Your granddaughter is still fighting echoes of this system. The question is, are you listening, Lenora Thorne? Whitmore was 18 when the cage closed, 73 when it cracked open, 76 when she died free. Remember her.